how do you know what your purpose is? And for me, I always tell people there's always something that we've always been good at. And people have always told us this, whether it's, oh my God, you're so funny, you always know how to make people laugh, or you're such a great cook, or, you're just a really good listener, or you're really good about writing things out. Whatever that is, you always hear that throughout your life. But you never really put that at the forefront because you don't think it's that important, or you don't think you're really that good at it.
Hi, everyone. Welcome aboard Jumpseat Therapy with your host, Kevin Weaver. I have a special guest for us today who is a coworker, great friend of mine now for I don't know how many years it's been now, but she's written her own book about her life and story. And I'm really excited. Her book is called My Pain versus My Purpose. That's the one I've been reading. It's an honor to have her here. Angela Wynette, right?
Yes.
Welcome to the Jump Seat. How are you?
Hey guys, I am great. I'm amazing. I am just honored to be in this seat with Kevin and be able to have this conversation. He is such an amazing gem. So if you ever get to encounter him, be in his presence, just know how blessed you really are.
Oh, and likewise, likewise, my friend. Absolutely. It was so fun working with you. You work with those coworkers and you just make that instant connection of just like there's just something about you that I feel like maybe we'll do together in life somewhere, I don't know.
Right.
And this presented itself and it's like, yay, and here it is. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Angela.
Okay, so a little bit about me. Like, as Kevin stated, I am an author. I have 5 published books out at the moment and working on some new projects come next year. So stay tuned for those. I'm also a motivational speaker. So I travel around talking about those books as well as other things that people like for me to dive into, whether it's a corporate event at a business, a women's seminar, a kids summit, a unisex group for young adults, old adults, whatever the case is. I travel around different places speaking at these different events, just trying to help people motivate them, break generational cycles, help people find their purposes, help pour some positivity into the world because we have a lot of negativity going on. So I get to do that. I'm also a certified life coach. So I do have clients that I deal with individually who need a little bit more personalized one-on-one. So those are just a couple of things that I get to do. And I also have a YouTube channel, so feel free to subscribe to that. It gives out little motivational nuggets. And if you ever want to hear any of my speeches that I do at these different locations, they are located on there just to kind of get a little bit more insight about what I talk about, what I'm about, and if you ever want to utilize me.
Perfect. Oh, yay. So you'll have to send me all those links too so I can post it on here so everyone can find you.
Most
I want to learn
definitely.
how to put it on my YouTube video itself. I'm working on figuring out how to do that. Anybody else knows how to do that, please let me know. But that's so awesome. Thank you so much for doing your work and diving into your books. I have read, the My Pain versus My Purpose. I think this is a really great topic right now. I have a lot of my friends, my sister, a bunch of different people, myself even, really trying to figure out what is our purpose? Like, what is my purpose here? What am I supposed to do? And I think it's a challenging topic. I think a lot of us are struggling with, and I think it'd be awesome to kind of dive into. But talk to us a little bit about your books. You have 5 books now. I've only have 2.
Yes,
That's
it's been a minute
so
since I've
good.
seen you, so I've
I
come out
know.
with some new projects.
That's
But
great. That's great. I love
yeah,
it.
so I'll go into those and then I'll dive into your question about what kind of led me to my purpose.
Mhm.
And so, like you stated, the first book is My Pain versus My Purpose. And so with this book, you see 2 pictures on here. The 2 pictures in this book are kind of a description of where I was in life. So the black and red is the broken version of me, for when I was dealing with grief, self depression issues, toxic relationships, self esteem issues, just different things you can go through in life, the loss of loved ones, and all these different steps that I went through overcoming cancer. And then this version here is in the white, is basically like my healed version. And you see the crack going down the middle. And that's basically a symbol of me divorcing me breaking up with me, breaking up with that toxic mindset that I had, breaking up with the, thoughts and the people around me that were helping pour into that negativity that I didn't realize. And so this book kind of dives into things that we go to through as individuals that we don't necessarily always talk about, or that we don't necessarily affects us the way that we think it does. And so that's this book that talks about my pain versus my purpose, and basically how I used that pain and was able to find my purpose. The second book that I wrote is a sequel to that one. That one is called Hurt, Healed, Happy. And you see it here. It's basically like God's hands. I'm a very religious, spiritual person. And so I pray a lot, meditate. I have my one on one time with God. That's my center, that's my focus. And so basically, it's showing my broken heart in God's hands. And what I did in this book, because a lot of people, after they read my first one, they were like, well, you know what? Okay, you overcame all of these things, but how were you able to do that? And so this book is a roadmap, step by step, of how I was able to overcome the grief, overcome the depression, the self esteem issues, the toxic relationships, overcome cancer, and actually how to address the people that hurt me to help along my healing process. And then the process and the steps that I took as far as going to counseling and therapy, journaling, meditating, learning how to discover those boundaries and setting them in place and actually implementing them, learning how to stand up for myself and to pour into me. So this book kind of gives you a little bit of those steps by steps about how to overcome those things, how to accomplish those things as you're finding your purpose. The third book that I came up with, that people always was like, okay, how did you stay on target? How did how to focus on you or take that time to pour into you to find that balance? And so I have this journal, and the journal is called I Am Enough. I have an I Am Enough line, came out with a t-shirt line that goes with this book as well as this journal. And this book is a 365-day journal. And what it does is that at the beginning of the year, it asks you kind of like a recess appointment of like, where are you? So let's take an assessment. Where am I right now? What do I consider my strengths? What do I consider my weaknesses? What are things that I need to personally work on? What is my goal for the year? What do I want to see myself accomplishing within these 365 days? And then every day, it makes you set a goal for every day. And it's a simple goal. And it's something as simple as, today I'm going to wash the dishes in the sink, or I'm going to take care of that load of laundry that's been washed and dried and sitting on the couch or in this corner of this chair for a week now. And so it makes you set a goal. And then at the end of the day, it makes you recap the day of, did you accomplish that goal? Yes or no, and why? Because now it's making you get personal as to what is keeping you from accomplishing the things that you are setting for yourself in life. And then at the end of the year, it makes you do a recap. Okay, now let's go back and look at those yeses and nos. How many do we have? How many more? Is it more one than the other? And then let's see, how did I improve? What areas did I see that I grew in? What areas did I still need improvement in? And then what was my main biggest distraction? Was it me? Was it other people that I had around me? Was it social media, allowing myself to get caught up scrolling for hours instead of taking that 30 minutes to take that walk? Because I say I want to be serious about my health. So this book is just kind of like an affirmation, book for you to help you learn how to take the time to commit to you. And then the next book that I put out was a project with my friends. So I run across all likes of life of people. I, deal with all kinds of people on a main job that me and Kevin do together. We have all kinds of, people that we come across. We never really see the same people all the time. Like Kevin says, I can't tell you the last time we saw each other. And so we encounter a lot of people, whether it's coworkers, whether it's people that, are coming on to transport them to different places. And so because of that, I have encountered a lot of people. And so with that, this particular book I came up with is called Through Your Eyes, My View versus the World View versus God's. And with this particular book, it's a project that I did with some friends that I know. They're from all different races, backgrounds of how they grew up. And I interviewed them. And I wanted people to get a perspective of other people's insight of how their view was shaped, how they grew up, where they grew up, what were they exposed to as a child, what difference it made as a two-parent household versus a single-parent household, how you were raised, whether you went to a privileged, predominantly white neighborhood versus, for the lack of a better word, a ghetto, hood neighborhood, that was more dangerous, a low income, low economic neighborhood. And how that impacted us, how that made us think the way we think, act the way we act. If we came from a loving two-parent household, how that made us want that as an adult versus, coming from a single-parent household or a household that deal with so much anger and argument. And so now it made you aggressive and you don't realize that that's why you are so mean and so aggressive and you think the way you think. And so this book kind of dived into that. And I just asked them the questions of, how was this? How did that impact you? And some of them really had to stop and think. It was like, I didn't think about that. That didn't make me, I really didn't understand now until, you ask that question to really be like, I did see my mom act that way. And that's kind of why I'm that way with my partner, or why I'm that way with my children. And it made them have to do a self-analyst about now how can I go forward and do things differently if I don't like what I'm seeing? And so that's another thing we dive into this book about. And then it also talks about, if you are religious or if you're not religious, if an atheist, if you're a Buddhist, if you're Baptist, whatever your religious background is, how did that affect you? How did that control or center your life or have an impact on your life, whether you believed or not, and then now that you are an adult, have you chose to do differently versus how you were raised? Or, have you chose to stay on that same path? And then now that you have children, what are you giving for them? Are you giving them an open insight to choose whatever they want? Or are you kind of telling them this is what we're going to do because this is what I believe or I don't believe? So it kind of gives you those backgrounds, those insights that just, again, people don't think about. We don't, kind of take the time to really focus on. And so that's what this book is about. And the interviews about 8 or 10 different people so that you can get their different perspectives and they're different. So you can see I'm not the only one going through that. Or there's somebody else resonates with what I have going on. And you can kind of see how they handled life, how they handle situations, and maybe give you some insight or some encouragement that if they were over to overcome these things, I can too. So, that's what this book is. And then I have this book here called I'm Possible. This book is my first children's book. It's dedicated to my nieces and nephews. So they are real life
Mhm.
characters in the book. They saw my book with my picture on it. And so they were like, oh, we want one of those too. So I
Oh,
came
that's
up
so
with a book for
cute.
them. And again, these are my real life nieces and nephews. So they are characters in the book. And this book is about basically teaching kids that anything is possible. And we don't have to wait until we're an adult to figure that out. We don't have to have society determine that for us. We can start now by pouring into these children, giving them the different tools and resources to really see who they want to be to help change the world in a positive manner, to help start moving them in the right direction, help keeping them from having to go through certain depressions and self-esteem issues and things that we went through as children that we weren't able to really express because our parents didn't know how. So this book kind of helps them early to start tapping into that positive side, tapping into the different adventures that life has for them and letting them know there's no limits. You can do whatever you want to do. Society doesn't have to decide that for you.
Wow, that's so cute. I love it. I like that other one too. So you said you do a YouTube channel?
Correct.
Okay, perfect. That's so cool. Man, I definitely want to have you back. I
Yes.
want to keep talking about some of these other books and stuff as well and work together on some things. That's so cool. The other one that you talked about, because you sounds like a little bit like what I do with this show is kind of interview people, and their stories, backgrounds, and stuff like that. Because learning people's backgrounds and their story on their journey of healing and growth expands my world and
Right.
expands our world when we hear those things. And
Right.
not only is it like them doing their healing is also healing us.
Right.
Does that make sense? It's
Right.
so it's really cool that you did that book because I didn't know you did that now. So
Yeah.
cool. Well, fine. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you, love. Yes.
Thank you.
I'm just trying to be the change that I want to see. I tell people all
Yeah,
the time,
same.
you have to be the image and the reflection of how you want to be treated. So no matter how hard it may be, difficult it may be, you have to be that reflection to where eventually that person is either going to change and adapt to your positive attitude and atmosphere, or they're going to leave you alone.
Yeah, yeah.
So either way, you're still making a change.
Right. And it's like, yeah, that's so true. But yeah, it took me a while to get there. But I think kind of with your book, with my pain versus my purpose is, you when you go into those things, I think that's why I resonate with it so well is that I get to be that change in the world. Like I don't have
Right,
to sit here and try to find these outside sources to change everything. It's within
right,
myself and all of us.
right, right,
And I think you state that very well in your book. So before we dive into that, because I want to get into more questions about some of the topics, you know, like I said, purpose and stuff. I want people to who are flight attendants, because this is also to encourage a lot of flight attendants out there.
Mhm.
Though it's Jumpseat therapy, I'm taking that concept to not just flight attendants, because we already know the concept, taking it out to the world, to those around us,
Right.
and that's kind of the idea of the show. So, what got you into being a flight attendant? Do you want to talk a little bit about that? Like, how did that all?
Yeah. So it's actually a funny, not so funny story. So this again was part of my healing process. So a part of the season where I was lost. I did not know who I was. I did not know what my purpose was, what my meaning was in life. And I really had just got to a place where I was just stuck. And I had a friend reach out to me. I was going through a toxic marriage at the time, was trying to figure out how to have my out. And so my friend reached out in that season. I was currently working at the hospital. And so when she reached out, she was like, Angela, oh my God, this company is hiring. We need to just apply. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. Flight attendant, like, what is that? And I'm just like, I don't want to do that. I mean, have I been on several airlines? Yes, fans of all of them, sure, whatever. Anywhere that can get me where I want to go, escape this problem is cool, whatever. Um, and so when she mentioned it, I was like, no, put it on the back burner. And then about a couple of days later, I ended up getting into it with my boss at work. And I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I went in my office, closed the door, and I applied. And so when I applied, I heard back within a week and was like, can you come in 3 days for an interview? And I was like, oh, this is happening. Okay. And so I went into work, left early, said I had an appointment, and went to the interview. And within 3 weeks, I completed the whole process. Everybody else that was in the interview was like, oh my God, it's taking me 3 months. It's taking me 6 months. It took me 3 weeks. And I was like, well, apparently I'm supposed to be doing this. And so I went to the training process, and it was at that moment that they were like, hey, these are the different options that we have for places for you to live, to fly out of. Dallas, I'm born and raised from Dallas. It was an option. But at the time, because I was trying to leave my ex, I said, I don't want to do that. I'm going to pick Florida. So I picked Miami for my base. And it was intentional because I was like, yes, this is my out. I can leave. I know he's not going to want to pick up his whole life and go. He has children and stuff, and his family's here. And lo and behold, to my surprise, no, he came with me. And I was like, oh my God, this defeated the whole purpose of doing it. So, um, but still in that process of moving to Miami, we came back to Dallas after 2 years, and I was still able to get that divorce and leave. And being in this job really helped me find my voice, because once I got on the plane, it was like a way of freedom, not just of going different places that I had never been exposed to, but the people that I encountered. To have so many people that I did not know come up to me and just see things in me or say things to me that I needed in that season that I really didn't see within myself. Again, the flight attendants coming up and we're sitting there and they're talking, they're like, oh my God, you give such good advice. And I'm like, no, whatever, and have random passengers coming up and they're hugging me. I just need your energy. Can I give you a hug? Your light is just so amazing. And I'm like, okay, and so it really helped me find myself. It really gave me a voice, gave me the courage and the strength to stand up, to be able to walk away, to be able to choose me and say, this no longer serves me. And I need to be okay with that. And even if it's scary, take that leap and choose me. So,
Oh, that's so beautiful. I can relate to that too with the job, because it's like it wasn't something I thought about doing, and then it just kind of presented itself for me, and I felt like this is where I need to be. Yeah, I saw a little bit more of what I need to do and stuff in life. So, well, awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And that's a little bit in your book. You talk about that as well as like how you became a flight attendant and everything too. So, encourage you all to get her book. So, books. And fun. But anyway, so one of the things I always ask people on the jump seat, or how do you handle some of the toughest challenges in life? I think that goes along with your book again too. Is that pain, like some of the challenges you went through a lot. Do you want to dive into a little bit of the pain that you kind of went through in life, and how you were able to kind of transfer those negative things in life or that pain into something positive, because that's really what I got out of the book a lot is how
Right.
you did that. And I find that in my own life how I do that, and some of the things that you share I resonate with. Do you want to dive in a little bit about how you handle some of the toughest challenges in life?
Yeah, so each chapter in the book kind of dives into different sections of my life. As I stated, the book is going to talk about the loss of my younger brother at the age of 20 to diabetes. We didn't know he had it. Came home one weekend for college. He was a freshman in college. Came home one weekend. We thought it was a stomach bug, and with 48 hours, he was in ICU, coded, and we had lost him. They got him back. He was, on a ventilator, and within 4 days tops, it was all right. Here we have this child that we know you have diabetes, to now he's brain dead. Y'all have to make a decision. And so it was a whirlwind. Once we figured out what was going on, what was wrong, now we're like, okay, well, let's prepare for that. He can be on insulin, and but then before we even have the time to really adjust to that diagnosis, now here we are with the next level of, we have to shift our prayers of, okay, Lord, instead of, heal him, help him, save him, give us the strength to be able to let go now, because this is your season. This is where you have him in, and you've, allowed him to go brain dead. His system is shutting down now. He's just basically a shell of a fracture. And so we had to kind of shift our prayers to now, instead of save him, give us the strength to be able to release him to you. So the book talks about that. And the crazy part about that season is the same season that I lost my brother was the same year that I separated from my ex-husband. And in the same time that I separated from my ex-husband was the same time that I was out on the IOD with my job. And so I couldn't work because I got injured on duty. And so because of that, I could not fly. I could not, go and have an outlet. So that was one of my toughest seasons. I had to sit in that pain. I had to sit in that grief. I had to really just dive into those feelings. And I had to force myself to do it. I had nothing to distract me. So, those dark days were dark. They were hard to force myself to get off the couch. All right, let's get moving. Let's go out for this walk. Let's get some fresh air. You haven't been outside in 3 or 4 days. And so it was really that season where I had to really learn to choose me and deal with those self-esteem issues and really understand that this is just a season. It's not a lifetime. This is not always going to be my circumstances. This is not always going to be my life situations. This is just a moment. It's just the comma in the sentence. It's not the period. It's just a
Mhm.
chapter. It's not the whole story. And so that book talks about that. And there was a time growing up, I was, again, two-parent household. My parents are together to this day, high school sweethearts. And so I grew up in a loving home, and I'm a middle child, so I had that middle child syndrome of, my older sister was there, um the quiet child. I'm the more boisterous, loud, like, all right, I'm here, see me. And then there came my brothers, and so, but I was the baby child, I should say, for about 6 years until the boys came along, and it was like, okay, what is this? And so now going from two girls to the two boys, it was um a season of all about the boys, because now we got these boys, we love the boys, the girls are good. And so I didn't really know my place. I didn't really know where I fit in. And so because of that, it caused me to kind of go into this space of trying to find my place. And I did that by attaching myself to anybody who gave me attention, whether it was good, whether it's bad, whether it was negative, toxic, whatever. As long as you saw me, see me, I latched onto it. Well, that is what started this negative era in my life of not really knowing what healthy love looks like. My parents loved me, my siblings loved me, but because I was so focused on just any kind of love or any kind of attention, that I didn't really know how to differentiate what was good and what was bad. For me, it was just as long as I was getting some type of attention. And it kind of caused me to go down this spiral effect of, that's how I got with my ex-husband. And we were never supposed to be together. He was way older than me, and so it was one of those safety nets in a season where I had gone through cancer. So I was diagnosed my freshman year in college, and first one on the case in my family. And so it was just, it was new for all of us. My parents didn't really know how to handle it. I definitely didn't, being young, naive, just starting college, trying to figure out life. And he was that outlet in that season. And because of that, it was just like, okay, you're buying me all these things, you're, giving me this attention, even if it was negative. And so I latched onto it. And in that time of being with him is when I was told, okay, not only do you have cancer, but now, because you do have ovarian and cervical, now you have a slim to none chance of having a child, which was something that I always dreamed about because I love children. And so that really put me in a spiral, in a negative headspace. And because of that, when he asked to marry me, I was like, okay, fine, whatever. I had given up on life. I had stopped my treatment because I was like, if I can't be whole, because at that point I considered myself damaged goods. And
Mm.
so I said, if I'm not worth anything, then at least I can say I was married. At least I can, say he has kids. So I'm not depriving him of something that he may want down the line. And so I married him. And years went by, and I went up and down with my health, up and down with my health. And then finally, I woke up one day and I was like, okay, I guess I'm not dying. So I need to do something with this. Um, so it was in that season where I had to figure out who I was. What do I want out of life? What is important to me? And so once I started figuring that out, then I had to try to figure out a game plan of, okay, now how am I going to implement this? How am I going to save me, protect me, put me first, and find out how to really live a full life. And so during that season is when I found my purpose. So in the season where I went through all this grief and anger and sadness and darkness is when I hurt God the most. And people always say, how do you know what your purpose is? And for me,
Mhm.
I always tell people there's always something that we've always been good at. And people have always told us this, whether it's, oh my God, you're so funny. You always know how to make people laugh, or you're such a great cook, or, you're just a really good listener, or you're really good about writing things out. Whatever that is, you always hear that throughout your life. But you never really put that at the forefront because you don't think it's that important, or you don't think you're really that good at it. But you always hear your friends tell you this, your family tell you this. But a lot of times we don't tap into that because of fear or the uncertainty, the unknown, lack of finances or resources, whatever the case is. So we don't really hone in on that special gift that we have. And for me, my friends always said, "Oh, Angela, just being in your presence is just it just does something to me. You always know how to uplift me, say the right things, make me laugh. Your hugs are just so refreshing." And I heard that, but because I didn't feel that way about myself, I never really gave it the energy of the time of day. And so once I started going to counseling and therapy and started breaking down those barriers of why I did not feel like I was worth it or why I did not feel like I was enough, that's when I realized what my purpose was and why I was still here. I said, okay, Lord, you saved me to be that light, to be that example of redemption, that even though you have that diagnosis, that is not your death sentence. So, for somebody out there struggling, you may not have tapped into your purpose because you're afraid or because you don't think you have the skills that you need to succeed to actually accomplish it. You do. The only thing you need to do is switch your train of thought and your mentality. And sometimes you're going to have to switch your people around you as well. Because just like for Kevin, you have this vision of what you want to do with this podcast. That's your purpose. You want to go out and shed light on things to help bring that positivity and that insight to people. And as you said, I'm new to this. I'm not really sure. I don't know if, I'm going to be successful at this. But the first step is trying.
Yeah.
And once you do something and you realize that this is what I am born to do, there are ways that things are just going to fall into your lap. that's when you'll know it's your purpose, because no matter how many obstacles you face, no how many roadblocks you come across, the passion inside of you, the desire to want to do it will not let you give up on it.
Yeah.
It will not allow you to sleep on it. It will not allow you to be like, I don't care about this anymore. I don't want to do it. No, you may take a break from it, but you'll
Mhm.
eventually wind up back to it because that's your purpose. And when it's your purpose, it does not leave you alone. It always finds a way to recircle back. It always comes back up. You always keep hearing that same thing until you tackle it and you actually fully start to walk in it.
Yeah.
So your purpose may be something completely different. It may be, starting this home daycare, or again, writing that recipe book for that cookbook, or being a part of that PTA. It doesn't have to be something grand. It's
Mm.
just, what is a passion to you? What is something that you can do effortlessly that's just you're good at? That everybody always tells you this, that whether you walk into a grocery store and somebody's just always, oh my God, you just have the most beautiful smile, or, whether you're just coming to your job and people always know I can come to you for the answer because you're always going to make me feel better at the end of the day. Or you never know that that text message that you sent just maybe that's your purpose. You're there, whatever that looks like for you. And so, that's what that book talks about for me, is how I took that pain and I've made myself have accountability for the parts that I played and the things that I allowed for the people around me. And then after using that accountability, I use that as my leverage to be like, okay, now that we know this, let's put yourself in a position to never have to experience that again. Or if you do encounter it, now you know how to tackle those issues.
Do you have any advice for those who are maybe in that in between of like, I know kind of what my purpose is, but I have that fear that's really holding me back from actually achieving it? Because that's kind of with me with this podcast. There's a lot of times I go in and out of it, but it always does. It always comes back, like you said. That's so true because it's like something that was always innate in me as a kid as well. It's like my purpose was to be kind of like the helper. And I was like, how
Right.
does that look? I don't know how that works. I don't
Right.
understand. And then it slowly, through pain and things in life in that I guess elaborate a little bit on how to help them push forward in that and what is something
Yes.
to do to kind of really cultivate the pain and that hurt and not put yourself in a place of shame or guilt or
Right.
let it spiral into something negative. How do you transfer that or transmute that those feelings and hurt into, which is, yeah, you kind of said, but elaborate a little bit more on that, I
Yeah,
think.
most definitely. So for me, I always tell people acknowledge the pain first because it
Mhm.
is a real thing. You feel what you feel, you have experienced what you have experienced, and you first have to acknowledge that. You have to give yourself grace. It happened. It was uncomfortable. It did not feel good. It was not a great experience. And after you acknowledge that it happened, now let's do the hard part. The hard part is let's take the time to sit back and really analyze the situation and see where we played a part in it.
Mhm.
And when I say that, I mean as far as, did I know that this person was not good for me, but I continued to stay anyway because of the unknown, or I didn't think I could survive on my own, or I was afraid, or I didn't know who to call or talk to, financial, whatever the case was. Did I allow again the fear of not knowing what the next step was going to be hold me back into a situation longer? A lot of us stay in places, whether it's a job, whether it's a relationship, whether it's an emotional battle, all because of comfort, number one. And number two, because of fear of the unknown on the other side of that. And so when you're in that space, I would say the best thing that you can do for yourself after you take the work and the time to address and have the accountability of this is what I did. Now you need to come up with a game plan. And that's either going to counseling, signing up for a support group, finding that safe place in a person that you can trust to help give you the guidance and the support you need to have that outlet or that out resource, the sources that you need, whether it's doing research, whether it's again going to a support group, whether that's at church or whether it's through a therapist that they set you up with a mentor or a mediator, whatever that looks like, but attaching yourself to a person or persons that can give you that insight that has a little bit more knowledge than you to help give you the direction. And so that's what happened for me. I went into counseling and they helped me channel that pain. And they would say, okay, Angela, when you're having those moments, okay, give yourself grace when you have them. Don't get upset that you're having them, but also give yourself only a certain time frame. So if you wake up and you've had 2 or 3 good days, but then that fourth day is a hard day, okay, I'm going to give myself an hour to feel these feelings. And then now for the rest of the day, I'm going to find something positive to focus on so that I don't let that negativity shadow the good that is coming, so that I don't allow that to be my focal point. And now the negativity has taken over my whole day, and I've wasted a whole day of possibilities because I couldn't see those possibilities because I was focused on that one negative image. And so if that, 30 minutes to an hour is meaning that I need to call somebody to help get me out of this space, or I need to go outside and take a walk, or if I just need to cry it out and get out those emotions, or write it down to get it out, however that looks like for you, take that time to deal with the emotions, but then don't sit in it.
Yeah.
Don't stay in that
Yeah.
space. Find a positive outlet to override that negativity. And again, if you one of those people like I was in that season where I needed an accountability partner, I signed up, I was with a support group.
Mm.
So when I didn't have the strength to do it myself and to only do it by my own merit, hey friend, I would send a text or make a phone call, or can we do lunch today just so I can sit in your energy and we can kind of pour into each other, so whatever that looks like, but find that avenue that works best for you and then put it to practice, put it to work, implement it to where, again, you get into that space when you feel yourself going down those negative paths, that pain starts to override the good. Okay, let me take a moment, let me pause, let me find some way to reroute this energy into a positive atmosphere.
Wow. Yeah. Very well put. Yeah. I could totally relate to that because I used to push everything under the rug. Everything.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like and I guess for men too in society where I grew up was that's what you do. You don't
Right.
face it. You don't talk about it
Right.
because it's a form of weakness. And it's total opposite. I had to unlearn that and then relearn to like,
Yeah.
no, I need to look at this, not to dwell in it, but
Right.
to bring it to surface, to work through it.
Right.
That's all we're doing when you're bringing up the pain and the hurt is like you're acknowledging it. And you talk about that a lot, really well in the book, I think, is yeah, you have to face it. And it's not easy.
No.
But it's so worth it. And it's that's where you reach a little bit more of enlightenment. That's where you reach a little more of like your purpose. You get towards those things a little better when you start facing that. Because always on the other side of that fear and that pain and that hurt is more of you,
Right.
more of that love, more of all
Right.
of these different things in our lives. So it's it's not fun. But like you said, if you surround yourself with the right people, you put yourself in, you may struggle, you may have these moments where these people, may even take advantage of you. It's
Right.
part of that little learning process,
Right.
and you just become stronger. You build resilience, you build strength within yourself, and you can be grateful for that. Really, I'm learning to do that a little bit more in my life. It's just like, thank you for those moments because now it's
Right.
getting me to where I'm able to be stronger and resilient. And there's just so many countless numbers of things that of my pain that I can look at and just kind of be grateful for as hard as it's been. Um,
Right.
because I'm seeing through the other side that strength that I have now within myself. And
You're
so
seeing your growth. Yeah, you're seeing
yeah,
your
I
growth.
see my
You're
growth.
seeing, yeah, and you're learning. You're learning your ability of what you can handle.
Yeah, yeah,
And you're also surprising yourself in, what you are able to overcome. Because
yeah,
sometimes we don't give ourselves enough credit
totally.
and be like, oh, I did conquer that. It did not conquer
Mhm.
me. Like I was able to overcome that. And I didn't even realize I overcame it because I was so focused on what went wrong that I didn't even see
Mhm.
what was going right. I didn't even
Yeah,
see my progress, that I didn't cry today. I didn't lay in the bed for 2 days today. Like I am actually happy. I want to
yeah,
be around people, but sometimes we don't give ourselves credit for that and we lose
we
sight of
don't.
that.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
don't. And but it's so true. I heard that really well said once with this. I don't remember who it was. This Congress lady. She, I can't remember her name. That's really bad. I don't know my own country that well. Uh, but she talked about how her dad passed, and she was, she gave herself these little celebrations. Every step, every day, she was able to get out of bed. She celebrated it. She was like,
Right,
to someone else looking in would be like, "Oh my gosh, why don't you cook yourself food today?" And she's like, "I'm not there.
right,
Getting one foot out of the bed today." And then she celebrates that, not with what the
right.
world tells her that she needs to be.
Yep,
She was. And that's what we have to meet and give ourselves that grace on where we are and be and celebrate it. Celebrate every little win, no matter how big or small it is. It's your journey, not
yeah,
someone else's. Take
yep.
it for a grain of salt. Take it one step at a time. Can you talk to us a little bit about you being a life coach? And I think you kind of went into a little bit how you got into that, but you were a flight attendant, but then from there was where you found life coaching, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So there was a season during the pandemic where we were furloughed
Mm-hmm.
and I had time on my hands. And so I went back to school at that point. And that's when I was like, you know what? Okay, people always say I give great advice, but I'm always one of those, I don't want to just give you my opinion. I want to give you some actual tools and resources that you can utilize to help you actually see a difference. And so that's when I went to school to learn how to, truly be a coach of life, and give people sound advice and things that they can implement along with that. And so during the pandemic, I did that. I went back and it was in that season of doing that that one of my professors said I needed to put out a book. And I was like, no. And so that's when my books were birthed in that season. I put out my first book during the pandemic and it went crazy. Within the first hour or two, it sold 100 copies. And I was like, well, people are bored. They have their stimulus check. So, I thank them for being nice. And then 6 months later, I put out my second book. And by that time, the world had opened up and I did a book signing. And people showed up and it was an amazing turnout. People were buying my books. And that's what led to me going and starting to speak about my books because people started asking me, can you come speak to my group? Can you come speak to my teenagers and, my women's group and stuff? And so I was like, okay, I think this is coming into something. And then that's when I realized my purpose was bigger than me. And that's another thing I think people have to understand is your purpose is never going to be just about you. It's
Yeah,
always going to be bigger than you. It's
totally.
going to be a place of that you are going to make such an impact and a change. And I think that's what scares us because it is
Mhm.
bigger than us. It's not just about us. It's not in our comfort zone.
Right.
But once you tap into that, you will find yourself in this space in the season where you're like, oh my God, I can, I still do it to this day. I get on stages where I'm speaking to 1,000 people at a time. And I sit there and I'm like shaking in my boots every single time that I speak. And yet at the end of the day, people come off and they be like, you never would have known. Oh my God, you look so comfortable on the stage. Um, but then I'll have women coming up to me crying. I'll have people coming up to me in tears, embracing me, saying, oh my God, you answered my question or my issue in 30 minutes on that stage or an hour on that stage versus what I have been battling and counseling for 3 years,
Mm.
So those are the refreshing moments that remind me that my purpose is bigger than me. And this is why I have to do it even when I'm scared,
Yeah.
even when I'm uncomfortable, even when it's something out of my element. I know that it's bigger than me. And so if I want to see the change in the world that I want, you know, I may have to do something that is uncomfortable, in a good way, to make that positive change, and it strengthens me every day. The more that I do it, the more that I see that I'm impacting people, the more that I have people come back and say, I resonated with you, that helped me. That is what motivates me to keep going, motivates me to, continue to take those life coaching courses to further and better myself to keep being that change and keep seeing that change in others to where we can start that ripple effect and hopefully one day we all catch on to it.
Right. I think we're all getting to that place too. I think a lot of us are waking up to doing our own inner work now because as a collective, I always say this, I feel like we're getting tired of the old way of
Right.
living. And then we're all
Right.
waking up to say, wait, I'm the cause of this. I can
Right.
change this by changing myself and working on
Right.
me. And then doing that is what's changing everything.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us are stepping into that. And it's scary, but
Yeah.
because it's then having to face your responsibilities, right?
Yeah.
And that's scary. It's a scary place. We stop looking at outside sources for that. And then we learn that, okay, wait, I have the ability to change this.
Yeah.
And then that's where that ripple, like you said, effect it happens because now it's within myself. I want to be that change in the world. Well, then I have to be that. I have to
Right.
become. Wow, very well put. I love that you're doing this. I love that you're doing your purpose, you're doing your work. It's greatly appreciated. You were a breath of fresh air. Like all these things, like you said, like people said about you, it's so true. It radiates, and I want to give thanks to you for
Thank
doing your
you.
work because it is not easy. I know firsthand for the
No.
things I have to face too. So it's
Yeah.
like. But it just gives me so much appreciation for those who do that inner work. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank
Thank
you for
you.
I always tell people that if you're still here, you're doing the work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. It is. It's not easy, and that's another thing that I'll tell people because they always ask, how do you manage this?
Mhm.
How do you manage being a motivational speaker and a flight attendant and a life coach and
Yeah.
an author and constantly traveling and stuff? How do you find that balance? And it's just that, learning balance, learning my limits, um, and then learning not to overextend myself,
Yeah.
because that's another thing too of being such an
Mm.
empathetic person and having such a giving heart. Sometimes we overextend ourselves, and then we find ourselves being drained, or we find ourselves being irritable and agitated because we have not taken the time to replenish ourselves.
I was just doing that. Yeah.
Yeah,
This
yeah, it's
episode.
okay to pour.
Yeah.
It's okay to pour. It's okay to give. But at some point, you have to have that replenished back into you,
Well,
whatever that looks like, whatever your self care looks like. And for me, that looks like different things depending on the season that I'm in. Sometimes that means I don't have it in me this month, guys. So this month I'm taking it off, and I'm either just going to speak or I'm just going to fly. I can't do both,
yeah.
or I'm going to do just coaching sessions. And because I know that I've gotten to that place to where I'm overwhelmed and
Yeah.
I'm stretched. And so there are certain months, like at the end of the year, I take those off and I'm like, nope, it's family time. It's holiday. I want to be able to immerse myself in that and enjoy that. And
Yeah.
so I limit myself on, okay, I'm not going to take as many engagements, or I'm not going to do so many things, because I need to be able to have that time to be around those that can replenish me, can pour back into me, fill me up, because I've given, 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 given. Now it's time to start to receive, now it's
Yeah.
time to allow myself. And that's another thing too. We have to allow ourselves to be given to. A lot of us don't know how to accept that. We don't know how to, you know, um, feel okay with and appreciate that somebody wants to give us back what we're giving them. You deserve that. You're due that. You're owed that. And it is not a bad thing. You're not selfish. You're not greedy. You're not asking for too much. That is the bare minimum, that the same light that you are being, you deserve to get that back.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
supposed to have it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Very well said. This is a question to spirituality. I know you're a Christian and things like that. A lot of us are, I think, waking up to spirituality, spiritual things. I know for me, I think it all intertwines with a lot of these art backgrounds and stuff as well, as we are spiritual beings, I believe. What does spirituality mean to you, and how would you say it would play a role in your journey in life?
Spirituality for me is not just necessarily a God thing. Because I know, again, there's different beliefs as far as, different religions, different gods that people believe in, or the lack thereof, no God, whatever the case, whatever your belief is.
Mhm.
For me, mine is God center based, but then it's also bigger than that. It's a certain type of feeling, as far as a certain behavior that exudes, you know, the type of person that you are, that shows your belief, whether you do believe in God or you believe in Buddha or you're atheist or whatever the case is. Um, for me, that spirituality is, meditating, if that's what you're into, praying, if that is what you're into, attending church, which is something I do every Sunday. So everybody knows my schedule of, if you ask me to do an event, I better be back home for church on Sunday, or you better find me one where I'm at,
Right.
So, but being around those like-minded people, that can help keep you centered and can help you grow in those areas that you're weak and you don't have the answers to, that can educate you on whether that's the Bible, whether that's the, Quran or whatever they call it, whatever the different things there are, but learning about that
Mhm.
immersing yourself in that culture, growing from it, and really understanding why you believe the way you believe,
Yeah.
what you believe in, and then educating yourself so that way when it does come up or you do encounter something, you're not closed-minded to, oh, I just only believe this, but you can take the time to actually understand where someone's at and how to receive them on their level. And
Yeah.
so for me, it's bigger than just a, oh, I believe in God. It's a certain walk in a way that you do things.
Ooh, I like that perspective. That's so cool. I love it. I like asking that question just because there's just so
Yeah.
many different ways to look at that. And, you know, words are words, but it's like to kind of put different meanings and things to it. It's just very, to me, it's really fascinating.
Yeah,
So that's
most
really cool.
definitely.
Well, I definitely want to talk some more, and I'd want please come back and do an
Yes.
episode with me. But as we wrap up, I have questions that I ask all my guests. First of all, again, I want to say thank you for being here. Thank you for doing
Thank
your work.
you.
Thank you for finding your purpose and going through some of the hardships that you've been through, and then working through that. It's tough, and I'm very proud of you, and I'm very thankful for you doing that. First question is, if you knew you wouldn't fail at something, what would you do?
Ugh. If I knew there was something I would not fail at, I think that would be um, a talk show host, or I could take this to another level so that it wouldn't be something that I would occasionally do, but it is something I do all the time so that I could change on a permanent basis and have people tune in from all over the world.
I love that. Well, you're kind of doing it with your YouTube channel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, I kind of, one reason I do this show too, and of course I don't have like a big following or anything, but if it ever does, like I really feel like my purpose would be in that helper. I want to be able to funnel people into their purpose, right? Like I want to be able to help them. And that's kind of the point of the show is to really just highlight somebody and allow them to be a they know where to get to you and
Right,
get to, you'll have other sources too to get to you, of course. But
right.
that being put out there is just awesome. I really hope that, I mean, I know that's going to come about. I'm putting it out there right now. It says, because keep doing it. You're doing it already. So
Thank
be
you.
in it and do it. So great. Oh, so the next question is, if money wasn't an obstacle, how would you live your life?
If money was not an obstacle for me, I think I would go abroad. I want to find ways to help have them a better, way of life, a better way of living. So I would find ways to pour into mission groups, that go to these different, foreign countries and help find ways to build them to have better schooling and living arrangements and things of that nature, clean water and more up to date today's times as far as electronics and things to help keep them, to where they're brought up to with, the US and what we do here, So I think that that's where I would spend a lot of my time is giving back, going over there and finding ways to, make their lives better.
Beautiful. I love that. What does jumpseat therapy mean to you?
I do it every trip.
Right? All the time.
Every trip, I have jump seat therapy. For me, it's like I said, I realize that what I do is bigger than me, and so I love getting there to sit there and talk to the different flight attendants, or even sometimes passengers, where they'll come back and they'll be using the restroom, or they'll just be standing there to stretch their legs. And next thing I know about their whole month and how life has been, and whether they're going to see a grandbaby be born or whatever. And so it's just a place of release
Yeah.
for me. It's a place of comfort where I want people, again, I always like to say, I want to leave people better than I found them.
Yeah. Oh, perfect. I love that. Jumpseat therapy. We're doing it with you. I love it. So, do you have any parting message that you would like to give the audience? I thought that was a good question. I listened to other podcasts and they asked that question a lot, and I really do like that. Do you have anything you would really want to talk about? Just any parting message that you want to give to guests?
Yeah, because this one is centered around, finding your purpose. I would tell everyone in this particular podcast of don't let the imposter syndrome keep you from your destiny. I know a lot of us suffer from thinking we're not good enough, we're not worth it, we don't have what it is in us to be successful, that, we're not that influence that we think we can be. But just like my shirt says, I'm possible, not impossible. It is possible. You can do whatever you desire. you have the ability to achieve what it is that you're going for. You just have to believe in yourself. Give yourself the credit that you are amazing.
Yeah.
You are this gem. You are a blessing to withhold, and people are lucky to encounter you. So
Amen.
carry yourself as such.
Totally. Oh, I love that. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Oh, well, how can people find a little bit more about you and the work that you're doing? I think you said it in the beginning, but if you want to kind of end with that, like some of how they can reach you. I know you have your YouTube channel and everything else. Is there any other thing that people where people can find you?
Yeah, so all of my handles are the same. I try to make it easy for you, which is author Angela Wynette, and that's AngelaWynnette, and that's for my YouTube channel, my TikTok, my Instagram, my Facebook, my LinkedIn. Um, Even my website is www.angelawynette.com. And I'm trying to think what else I have. My email address, same Angela Wynette, ALC for author life coach at Gmail. So the handle is the same for everything. So it is not impossible to find me. You can Google me and a lot will pop up with me. That'll help you keep up with my different events that I have coming up. I'm headed to Vegas next month to be honored for an award for the top 100 women entrepreneurs for this year. And I just got in from New York for being ordered for the top 40 under 40 entrepreneurs for 2024. So life has been busy, but in a
Yeah.
great, rewarding way. So yeah, so like I said, if you ever want to get a hold of me, reach out to me. My information is all listed on my public sites, and so feel free. I do, respond back. I do write back. I do answer phone calls and text messages, or whatever the case is. So yeah, just author Angela Wynette, and whatever you Google me on, that is going to come up, and it'll tell you how to get a hold of me. And all of my books are on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, and or you can go to my direct website and I will personalize them and sign them, autograph for them, mail them to you. So that's also an option as well. So yeah, I'm here. Look me up, get a hold of me, and I would love to hear from you guys.
Oh, thank you, Angela. Oh, it's an honor. I'm privileged to have you here. I thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I'm gonna let you, go for now, and I will see you back. We'll be doing a lot of work. I'll be following the work that you do, and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I love you so much. And
I
you
love you
keep
too.
going. You have an amazing thing ahead of you.
Thank you. Yes, and I'm glad to be part of all this, everyone's work and everything. So thank you so much. Thank you for that encouragement. I appreciate it. But for now, I'm gonna say bye for now. Love, peace, and unity. Always gonna love. Unity.
So let's dive deep, let's take flight. And Jumpseat therapy, everything's alright. Together we rise, shine so bright. In these conversations we find our